Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 2nd of February. It's Old Firm Day. Joshua Barrie, how much are you looking forward to this one tonight?
Looking forward to it. It's a bit too long of a build-up for me, Derek, if you know what I mean. The 12 o'clock tends to deal with the pre-match nerves more succinctly. But yeah, fantastic to have the game finally here. Obviously, it would have been better if Rangers went into it in a little bit of better form. But I think I'm pretty confident from a Rangers perspective going into the game tonight, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so much to talk about, folks. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember, if you're not at that subscribe button, just do so you'll never miss a video when we go live. And that offer, fantastic offer we have on the Rangers Review site, I believe it ends on Friday. So it's just £1 for an entire 6-month period. And when you sign up, you get entered into a prize draw to win a signed first-team jersey. It's a cracking offer we have on just now. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. So many comments already coming in, Joshua. Let's not be about the bush. Huge game, of course, this evening. Rangers go into the game, as you mentioned, not in the best of form. They've dropped 4 points in the last 3 games since returning from the winter break. So how do you see this one panning out? We'll go into detail as well, but how do you see it panning out? Celtic, to me, have the momentum. I think the weekend was huge in terms of their belief in giving them the belief that they can they can go top of the table this evening. That's enough incentive for them. But how do you see it panning out?
Yeah, and the momentum could have been so different. And Van Bronckhorst will know, and he'll be reaffirming to his players that you can't play on that. You can't dwell on that, because, as you say, I think it could have been 5 points if Ross County don't score in the 96th minute. The weekend and Celtic don't score in the 95th, and you can't allow, although that's a significant moment. A 90-minute game of football is a lot longer than that, and you can't allow 2 late goals to kind of change your belief going into one of these games. I think we know how Celtic will approach it. Postecoglou, I think, will be very aggressive. He seems to have kind of played that way regardless of where he's went, whether it be away in Europe. And I guess from Rangers' perspective, they have to decide, and we can go into more detail on this, but they need to decide how they approach that. We've seen lots of different approaches in Old Firm games in previous years. Rangers obviously haven't lost an Old Firm game, I think, in over 2 years. And yeah, regardless, I think, of the form, Derek, Rangers will go into this with a lot of confidence. And I think an important note is, obviously, it's got lost a little bit because of the Ramsey deal and Ramsey not being able to play tomorrow. But you look at Ahmad on Saturday, and how exciting he looked in space, and you think how well Kent's performed in Old Firms. Obviously, got Joe Rebo back. Kemar Roof looked really sharp. That's a really impressive attacking quartet to be taken to Celtic Park. So I think lots of reasons for Rangers to be confident. And, as you say, the narrative is that Celtic have the momentum at the moment, but imagine how much that swings if Rangers go and get 3 points tonight.
See, you mentioned Aaron Ramsey there, Joshua. You weren't on the morning briefing yesterday. When we were talking about the rumours on Monday, I think we all dismissed them as very much unlikely to happen. It has happened. Can I get your reaction to the news that Aaron Ramsey is a Rangers player?
Yeah, amazed in the first instance, because you can, regardless of the ways people will try to dress it down, you've still got a player from a top 5 league who moved there on a really coveted deal just over 2 years ago, and would have had offers to go to the Premier League, and we know that, and he said that as much in his Rangers TV interview, that he had offers to go elsewhere but chose to come to Ibrox. I think so. I think on a kind of, James Tavernier used the word magnitude for it, and I think that's very apt. And if it works, it will work, I think, really well. I think in terms of the player as well, we did a scout report on him, and the type of number 8 that Van Bronckhorst wants, Ramsey would be held up as the prototype, I think, in many ways, for what that number 8 should do in terms of being able to run onto the ball, impact the game from deep areas by making those kind of lung-busting third-man runs, be a real goal threat. I looked into some more detail about previous managers, and Sarri spoke a lot about how he wasn't as comfortable with his back to goal, and he liked playing in that number 8 position. Wenger spoke about his unique movement on numerous occasions. So I think from a isolated point of view, it's a really big signing, and if it works well, I think you look back on it as a bit of a masterstroke. And in terms of the type of football that Rangers want to play, they've signed a player, as I say, that is the kind of prototype number 8 in a possession-based team. So yeah, really, really exciting. But like you, I did not believe it on Monday morning whatsoever. And credit to the club for getting a player of Aaron Ramsey's qualities through. And anyone who doubts, is he past it? If you watch, I watched them back the Turkey Wales game 2-0 in Euro 2020 in the summer, and he was just excellent. Those darting runs in behind the defence. Still only 31, and although I think, I mean, I've not got too much to back this up with, but although the injury prone tag gets put around, you see with Kemar Roofe, although he has missed a lot of football this season, last season he was managed relatively well. And I think with players with the increasing influence of sports science, often it's you need to manage them well, as opposed to they're going to fall down injured all the time. And Ramsey spoke about that in his interview as well with Rangers TV, saying that he'll get a plan in place with the people at the club and get them up to speed. So really exciting signing. Shame he can't play tonight, but as I said previously, I'm excited for Ahmad nonetheless.
Yeah, I asked Van Bronckhorst yesterday if he would be available. He says it's too soon for him. He won't be involved in the matchday squad. However, he did give us an update on Phil Helander and Leon Balogun. Helander is close to a return, but tonight is too soon. But Leon Balogun will travel with the squad tonight, Joshua. Now, there is some comments coming in, and it has led to a bit of debate as to whether he replaces Calvin Bassey at centre-half. Where do you stand on that?
Not for me. I know that Bassey made a mistake at the weekend. I think he's been pretty faultless otherwise. Balogun in his previous game for Rangers and that cut exit to Hibs really struggled with quick forwards. One of the reasons I think Rangers' defences look so solid is Bassey's recovery pace. I know he's not great coming out with the ball, and that's been exploited at times, but I think you've seen in the second half on Saturday how Rangers managed to find a way around that by tucking Borna Barisic infield slightly. I just think that personally at the moment I'd feel more confident going with Calvin Bassey there, just because Balogun's not played much football. I think 60 minutes against Stirling Albion in the cup game. I think I'm right in saying that, Derek. So yeah, I think he's done really well, and it is easy after that to look and say, look, he's not centre back. And I think as the time's worn on, you have been able to see that he, especially I think taking the ball at the back, has limitations. But I don't think Balogun is miles better than him on the ball, bringing the ball at defence anyway. And you have to remember that Bassey has went away to Pittodrie and Easter Road, Tynecastle, and done really well at the back. So I would be more comfortable sticking with the back four. And again, if you look at that, the mistakes were there undoubtedly on Saturday. I think I'm right in saying that as a manager, you'd probably rather have mistakes than real structural issues that are happening game after game. At least with mistakes, sometimes you can put it down to moments of madness. And although you don't want them to happen, it's better than the state of the defence when Van Bronckhorst arrived, which was systemic issues leading to the concession of goals every single game.
Yeah, some comments coming in here, Joshua. I wanted to pick up a good question from Colin Cameron that gets in touch. What's your view on what Gio's game plan will be tonight? He's always got some surprise up his sleeve. Now, the last two away matches at Pittodrie and Dingwall, Rangers have had a tendency to sit back on their leads and invite pressure. Van Bronckhorst was quizzed on that yesterday, and he says it's not, they weren't looking to hit on the counter-attack, it's just about game management. Now, I predict tonight Rangers will look to soak up pressure and hit on the counter. I'm not too sure if that's the right game plan, to be honest, Joshua, but how do you see Gio and his game plan? I know he always has one for each individual game, but how do you see him approaching this one?
Well, I was in my tactical bunker from 8 o'clock yesterday, Derek, watching Celtic videos, and I've got a long piece, if Colin's interested, on the website about that. How do Rangers exploit Celtic's weaknesses? I don't think there's necessarily a problem if Celtic have a little bit more of the ball. I think the problem is more arrived for Rangers in that because they've moved away from this 4-3-3, which was nice and compact, and that gave you compactness right up the pitch, to the kind of more flat 4-5-1. It can lead to you almost defending your own box, and Rangers can't do that. Rangers can't, I think, give up that much control of the pitch. And if you think back to what Michael Beale used to speak about a lot in terms of that 4-3-3 and why Rangers would sit with a high line and allow space in behind, is that middle zone was where they wanted to win the ball back, because you could be aggressive in transition there. Whereas if Rangers win the ball back in their own half, the opposition team has a lot of time to recover. It's hard. You don't see many teams score with breakaways from their own half all that too often. And I think that's more the issue. So I think for me, the game plan tonight, as I say, I think Celtics will come out and play with a real intensity, and Rangers need to match that. I would tend to, ideally, I'd have Ryan Jack in there next to Glenn Kamara, but I don't think he's played enough football. I wouldn't be opposed to James Sands playing in there, and I know Scott Arfield has Old Firm experience, but I just think in terms of, you look at Ahmad on that right wing, will he give James Tavernier enough protection? If you put James Sands, who has looked pretty, I think he, although he's not amazed people on the ball, I think he'd cover a lot of gaps well and offer a defensive solidity, and that maybe then gives Aribo, Kent, Ahmad and Roof a little bit more license, maybe allows James Tavernier to join in as well. I think you need to have Borna Barisic tuck in a little bit in the build-up. Rangers have looked really poor at times when they've been distributing the ball from the back. In the first half, you've seen that when they couldn't find Glenn Kamara, and I absolutely expect that Celtic will sit in the high block and try and press them and be aggressive. But then equally, you look at the frailties and the types of goals that Celtic have conceded, and there's a lot of repetition. For me, Derek, if you look at how you can pull their fullbacks out of position, because obviously they move inside and they make that centre nice and compact, but you look at where Rangers wingers are now attacking and they're not in that congested centre, they're playing outside of the pitch. So I think they could have a lot of joy there, even just in kind of pulling that structure, the inverted fullbacks and the defensive midfielder and the central defenders, pulling them wider to create gaps, because you give them a decision. If Celtic are attacking, or Rangers are attacking, and after they've won the ball back and Celtic want to congest the centre, they might afford too much control to Rangers out wide. So it's a really fascinating game. I think it'll be a bit of cat and mouse in terms of who blinks first, and then who's bold enough to stick with their game plan. But I think there's lots of areas in which Rangers can target crosses into the box as well. I think Celtic have conceded 5 goals from open play crosses and 4 from corners. And the last point I'll make is in transitions. I think often again, as Celtic are, if you cast your mind back to the win, Livingston's 1-0 win over Celtic, which is a long time ago, and I'm sure they've improved as a team since then. But I think if you can win the ball back at points when Celtic are bringing their fullbacks inside, pushing their team higher, there is the ability to again hit that really open space. And bringing their fullbacks inside has a lot of benefits. It allows them to retain pressure, push their to attack midfielders high, keep their wingers wide, and always inject pace into the attack. But it also, as any tactic, leaves space, and it can sometimes leave quite obvious space. So, yeah, really, really interested to see how it goes. I think there's lots of areas for Van Bronckhorst to hit, but as you say, I don't think Rangers can sit back and defend their penalty box as they sometimes have done in recent away games.
Yeah, absolutely. Some comments coming in saying that they'd like Stephen Davis to start this game. He's not played for a number of weeks. I'm not too sure if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would throw him in. I say throw him in. He's got plenty of experience, and I'm sure he would do well if he was played in there. You've mentioned James Sands, Joshua. Now, for me, he's just arrived at Ibrox. It's going to take him time to bed into the system and the style of play and the demands of the club. I thought he's done okay in the games he's played. However, I would have reservations about starting him at Parkhead in the cauldron of noise that is. I'm not too sure if that's his game. I know you've got him in your predicted lineups, and folks, do go check it out. Me and Joshua have selected who we think should be the starting 11s. What's your case for James Sands to start, Joshua?
Case is that you look back to Tynecastle, and when Rangers, Rangers when they needed Alan McGregor, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. They needed Alan McGregor to bail them out, and I don't think their midfield it gave enough defensive protection. Joe Aribo in the second half moved back to play alongside Glenn Kamara because that's not Scott Arfield's position. And then I think you take Joe Aribo out of the area of the pitch where he's effective. I just think it's, Sands, as I say, I would rather have Ryan Jack in there. But I think Sands, what he gives you is he'll cover gaps. He'll do the basic things, sometimes do the boring things. But you might just need that. I mean, how many times did Walter Smith pull a little surprise and then before an Old Firm game and put in a player to do a specific job? Alex Ferguson used to always do it. I know that's casting our minds back a little bit, but I just think it could be something that gives Rangers that little bit more solidity in that deep midfield role, allows them to build play better. And I don't really see an alternative. I don't think that it doesn't look like John Lundstrom will start because Van Bronckhorst has played Sands ahead of him a couple of times. So that's my case, and I think it would just grant a little bit more attacking freedom to the front four.
Yeah, I agree with Malky. I think Arfield starts for me in this game. Let's talk about who leads the line, Joshua, because I've seen a comment on Cedric Eaton in the comments. I'm not going to post it, but let's just say it was he wasn't best pleased if he is going to be in the starting lineup this evening. I think he's had a number of opportunities now to impress. For me, he hasn't really taken them. You saw him at first hand at Dingwall on Saturday. Kemar Roof came on, looked a lot more threatening. He just looks more comfortable in that role. Would Kemar Roof start for you?
And I need to give a shout out to my good friend Lyle Cameron, who I've just noticed this comment in there.
Yes.
Yeah, there he is. Experience is needed, and I couldn't agree more with him. And listen, if Arfield starts tonight, it's not. I don't think it's a case of you'd be worried, but I think it's more about getting the best out of the attackers, and that's why I'm saying Sands. But anyway, to the forward line, I think the first involvement that Kemar Roof had was the chest out wide to Ryan Kent, and for me, Cedric Eaton all afternoon had tried to win the physical battle with, I think it's Baldwin, Ross County's number 5, and had lost it, and Kemar Roof rolled him in the first action, and it just wasn't happening for Eaton. I think Roof, you'd absolutely trust him to go and make an impact in this type of game. I just think he's a better player, and when he's fit and firing, he's a really exciting player to have in your team. So no brainer for me. I think that's why I didn't start at the weekend. Should be up to fitness now. If Roof didn't play, I'd start Fashion Sakala for the middle. I just don't think in a game like this, Eaton offers you enough, because I don't think he holds the ball up well enough. I think he can. I think his game can work in and around the box with that interplay. I thought it worked in moments at home to Livingston and Stirling Albion, but that's if you're really searching for moments. But yeah, Kemar Roof for me, Fashion Sakala through the middle, if it, as a necessity, has to be one of those two.
I wanted to talk about something else. Last night, we found out that Alfredo Morelos wasn't involved in the matchday squad again for Colombia against Argentina. God only knows why he's been called over there, Joshua, because he's not played. Well, I say he's not played. He's not even been involved on the bench against Peru or Argentina. He's now missed. Well, it looks like he's going to miss. Well, he will miss tonight. He has missed some games previously away as well. 2 weeks he's been away. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst spoke about it yesterday. He was asked if it's possible Rangers could get him on a flight and get him back in time for this game this evening. That would be highly unlikely. Now, you mentioned Walter Smith earlier on there. Yeah. That would be a Walter Smith-esque move if we've seen Alfredo Morelos pitch up at Parkhead this evening. I mean, stranger things, I think, have happened. But what do you make of all this? This a bit of a farce, isn't it?
It would be absolutely fantastic if he did, for so many reasons. But yeah, frustrating. And I think you could tell with the manager yesterday, he was frustrated. And often I think when you're in press conferences there, you can see he's quite reserved and calm. But I think you could tell that was frustrating. And I'm sure Morelos will be as frustrated as anyone. You never know why these things happen. I'm sure it's not an attitude problem, because you look at Morelos and playing for Colombia has always been a real privilege for him. And you look at how spot on his attitude's been since the new manager came in. But from a Rangers point of view, really frustrating to be going there without your main number 9. As I say, if we didn't have Kemar Roof, I think it would be more pronounced, because I think when he's fit, he can really play that central striker role very well. But just I don't understand it, and I think the manager said the exact same thing yesterday when he was asked about it, Derek. And unfortunate to not have him, given that he's not doing anything over there.
Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I feel sorry just for Alfredo Morelos more than anything. You know how much he loves playing for Colombia, and to go over there. And I know that the Colombia manager was getting pelted by missiles in the match against Peru when he was walking off. Not Colombian fans not best pleased about him, but it's just a very unfortunate turn of events for him. I think it's unlikely, though, that he's going to be back in time to feature this evening. I've seen a comment there saying, do you think Giovanni van Bronckhorst may be throwing a curveball with regards to Aaron Ramsey? Ali Quinn gets in touch. Hi, Alan. Would love him to start. I don't think he's starting.
I don't think it's his style. I did think that as well, Derek. I did think that it feels a little bit of an old school trick, doesn't it? Something like a Harry Redknapp would do. I've not got any basis to that, but it just feels right. But yeah, I don't really see that as Van Bronckhorst's style. Although I think you put unnecessary pressure on a player if he does that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? But it would be fun. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it.
Yeah. Well, the league won't be won or lost this evening, even if Rangers win or God forbid lose the game. The league, I mean, it's still got plenty of games left remaining. So I think it's all about the long term with regards to Aaron Ramsey. You don't want him pulling up if he's not 100% fit. Of course, he's not played since November time. So I think it might be folly to throw him into that environment. Okay, folks, I think that'll do us there. Thanks to everyone for getting involved with the comments. It really is much appreciated. I can sense that the battle fever is very much on. If before kick off, if you're looking for something to do, just head over to the Rangers Review site. We've got some great content on there this morning. We've got our predicted lineups, a piece I've wrote on Alan McGregor and how he's still Rangers #1. And Giovanni van Bronckhorst actually said as much yesterday. He said there's no decision to make with regards to his goalkeeper following his performance at Ross County. So there's a piece on that, and also 3 burning issues facing Rangers ahead of this game this evening. Remember, we've got that fantastic offer on just now, just £1 for a 6-month period. And when you sign up, you also get entered into a prize draw to win a signed first-team jersey. So it is really a cracking offer we've got on just now. It finishes on Friday. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. We'll be back again tomorrow to review tonight's events. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and the game this evening.